Good evening, YouTube. Matt M. Roy back once again. Well. What are we going to talk about tonight? I hope everybody's having a great Friday night. I'm sure a bunch of you are probably out partying, saying like, party, party. It's Friday night, let's party. Yeah, it's Friday, let's party on. And I saw I just lost a viewer when I started singing, so oops. We'll give everybody a few minutes to get here. Um, this overhead light seems to be doing pretty well. I'm still fighting with the lighting here, I tell you. If I do it like that, yeah, see, I'm too drowned out there, but I can get like really close, and I think it looks a little bit better. And maybe I can push this up a little bit. There we go. That's not too bad there. So what is everybody up to tonight? I'm going to wait a few minutes, see if we can get more people here. I want to let everybody know my big mistake today, and hopefully you guys won't hold it against me. It's nothing that has to do with anybody on YouTube, so you don't have to worry about that. It's just something that I did that I kind of feel like a dunce about, and I figured why not share it with everybody because it's kind of an amusing story. I don't know. We'll go with that, I guess. 3 watchers, and we got 1 like so far. Couple of tech-related news items. SSDs, solid-state hard drives, are on the rise price-wise. There's a couple of articles, but the one I remember was from Fox News. And apparently the manufacturer parts that come from China, well, you guys know what's happening in China now, COVID-19. Parts are a lot more expensive. So on average, the price of your next SSD is going to be about 25 to 35% higher. So you may want to think about purchasing your SSD sooner than later. If that's the case, because it does look like the prices are going up, and I'm noticing that right now. The ADATA SU635 240 gigabyte SSDs I've been buying all the time for about $34.99. Their prices now are well into the 40s. I see one here for $46.32, another one for $46.73. And upwards and upwards. So yeah, prices are going up. Make sure that you get your SSD now because you're going to be paying more for it in the very near future. Hey Matt, how are you doing today? Well, feeling a little bit like a dunce, and I'll explain why here in just a couple of minutes. Actually, I might go ahead and buy this one now. There's one left on eBay. It's an ADATA SU635 240 gig 3D NAND, and that's what I really like about these hard drives. ADATA is not necessarily a really well-known company, but they make a very good solid-state hard drive, and for the price, getting the 3D NAND technology in a standard SSD, not an M2 or an M-SATA drive, is really a good buy. It really is. Happy birthday to Kukurmanga 8's mother. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. Okay. Ooh, we got a cat fight going on. Check it out. Hey, what are you two doing? Milo's sitting right there. The door is shut, so they're not too happy about that. And Baxter's right back there. The nice thing about these two cats, and no, you don't want to see me. I've been eating like a pig lately, and I don't think I've gained weight, but who knows, right? Two male cats will inevitably fight. I mean, it's just going to happen. You know, they have the hormones there, the testosterone. They're always going to fight. I know Dad and I butt heads a lot, and he probably is going to kill me if he knows I told you guys that, but it's just the way it is. But it's all in good fun. We forgive and forget, and we move on with life. I was going to wait for a few more people to get here, but yeah, you know what? Let's go into it. Okay, so I hope you guys got the joke about this. This is kind of how I did my thumbnail, and I was pointing to my eye. You know, you guys do those picture puzzles. It was supposed to be I screwed up. You get it? I screwed up with my electric screwdriver pointing upwards. I don't know how many people are going to get that. I thought it was funny. So here's what happened. I had two people interested in buying what I thought at first were two different computers for me. I had an HP i5 listed, and then I had an Dell Optiplex, what was it, a 790 with an i7 listed, both second generation systems. And both of these people had very similar names. One was Ron and one was Rich. And I'm not really good with names to begin with. So to make a long story short, they've both been texting me since yesterday. They both had to put it off because of the weather. We got quite a bit of snow here yesterday, though a lot of it didn't stick. However, people are around here reluctant to drive out in any type of snow. Doesn't matter if it sticks much or not. So what happened was the first gentleman that came over, Ron, I sold him the i7 computer. Well, it wasn't maybe 5 or 10 minutes after that happened that I started looking at the messages from this other guy, Rich, that was coming about an hour later. And I said, I messed up. I was actually supposed to sell the i5 to the first guy, Ron, and the i7 to this guy, Rich. But when the first guy came here, he saw both of the computers, and I wasn't really on my A game anyway today. I had very bad sleep last night, so I've been kind of like, you know that show, The Walking Dead? Well, I've been like a zombie all day long, so my mind was kind of hazy. And to make a long story short, you have to own your mistakes. And I totally made a mistake here. And I felt really bad because when the second guy was coming, he had already started out his trip before I figured out my mistake. And I was open about it. I messaged him. I said, look, I apologize. I know I told you I had this system, but I sold it to the first person by mistake. And the guy was really cool about it. He came over anyway. I showed him two of my i5 computers that were decent systems. I mean, they were second gen i5s. The one that he was looking at was that I sold previously was an second gen i7. So they were fairly close in specifications. And we went back and forth, and I made it right. I basically knocked off about $60 for the price of that computer. And honestly, normally I would never do that because profit margins, even on used or refurbished computers, are very low. But I felt I had an obligation to him. And I don't think there's a lot of that anymore. There's not a lot of customer service out there. When you go to a supermarket or you go to a big box store, Best Buy, Walmart, is a really bad offender. There's no customer service. If you try to get somebody to help you out, they'll usually just snub you. And if you can track somebody down, half the time they don't know what they're talking about. And it's really a shame. And I think that we really need to get back to a time when customer service was for first and foremost, because the customer is the reason you are in business. The customer, without the customer, you would not be in business. I don't care what business you run. If you run a coffee shop, if you run a, computer repair shop, if you run, no. Sorry about that, folks. No matter what kind of business you run, if you don't have good customer service, then you are not going to be in business for very long. I mean, look at all the stores that have closed in the recent years. I mean, I'm thinking of Office. What is it? No. It was Circuit City. There was another one in there that closed, and I can't remember the name of it. But even if you look at Sears is a great example. Sears, for years, their customer service has been going downhill. They weren't carrying the types of products people wanted. And, when you could go in there and you find something you wanted, half the time they were out of it. That is just poor customer service. And that is not a recipe for success. Now, I could get into a deep discussion about, the online market now and people buying things mostly online, not even going out and buying them at brick and mortar stores anymore. And there is some truth to that. But if you have a successful business, if you have good customer service, you will have a successful business. look at Best Buy. Best Buy is a perfect example. I go into Best Buy, and almost every time I have a good customer service experience. I go back into the computer section and I want to buy some SSDs. Generally, there's somebody there to serve me. And if they're not, usually somebody from another department will come over and help, or they'll say, oh, okay, let me, I'll get somebody to help you right away. It shows in their numbers. Best Buy has had their best year to date. I mean, there was a time when Best Buy was going to go out of business, and that was pretty much right when I left. And they honestly didn't have the greatest customer service, but they have made a successful business out of customer service, because you are selling, when you're in business, you are selling yourself as much as you are selling the product that somebody's coming in there to buy. Eric goes, it's usually the exact opposite when I go to Best Buy. Well, there's always exceptions to the rule. That's what proves the rule. I may have to let these guys out here in a minute. They are really not happy right now. They don't like being shut in. They're very typical cats in that sense. So really, and I've not been the greatest in the past about owning my mistakes. I'll be perfectly honest with you. There are times when I made that kind of mistake that I would try to hide it, mainly because I was ashamed. I'd be like, oh my gosh, how could I have been that stupid? How could I make a mistake like that? Blah, 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 blah. Well, we all make mistakes. We're human beings. If we didn't make mistakes, we'd be robots, right? I mean, I'm sure this has happened to everybody in the past. And if not, then maybe I'm just an idiot. I don't know, right? But either way, I made it right with the guy. Now, did I lose money on that sale? No. I still made a little bit, but my profit was way, way down compared to what it could have been on that computer. So that just means the next time I won't be so careless. And yeah, there was an element of carelessness there, honestly. It wasn't just that I was having an off day, that I didn't get a lot of sleep, although that did play a slight role in the events that took place today. But either way, if you're doing a business like that, own your mistakes. Just don't try to cover them up. I know that's the problem. That's the human condition. We are conditioned mentally to cover up our mistakes, mainly because we don't want to be called out on them. We don't want to feel ashamed. We don't want to feel like we were stupid, or we don't want to feel like somebody thinks less of us because we made a mistake. We always make mistakes as humans. We just need to own up to them. Mr. Mackey is my favorite character. I've never heard of that before. Nick Albasi, long time no see. I don't think I've seen you at one of these live streams for a while. I'm trying to get him in at least one every day, that or a vlog. If I miss a day or two, I apologize, but you guys know what's been happening around here. And I should update you on this, because this is something I have talked about a lot, but I haven't really kept you guys updated. With me possibly going back up to New York, upstate New York, and working that job at the 5 and 10 discount groceries, I don't know what's going to happen with that yet. The latest is I need to still try to negotiate a better salary. Luckily they're not going to need me at least until the beginning of March, so I probably have another week or two before I have to, well, what is this, a leap year? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I got about another week to decide what I'm going to do. But if I can negotiate a little bit better salary than minimum wage, then I might consider going back up. Did one of those cats just go up in the window there? Well, there's Baxter. I wonder if Milo's up in the window. I see the curtain moving back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Milo. Yep, sure was. He's a stinker, I'm telling you. Billy Joel said in one of his songs, "You're only human. Don't forget your second wind." Well said. Very well said. Good evening, lazy fish keeper. Hopefully you're keeping your fish for the winter. Though I'm telling you, it's been such a mild winter. My friends and relatives that live in upstate New York that are avid ice fishermen have not been able to fish because the ice isn't thick enough. It hasn't gotten that cold. I know one person in particular, if he's watching this, I'm sure he's really upset because that is his pastime in the winter. He's a retired mailman, and he spends his time fishing, loves it. And it's usually ice fishing. Of course, in the summertime, he'll, just fish regularly. He has boats all over the place, but I know he's hurting this year. I'm sorry. I know. I hopefully this is just like a transition year, and it's going to get a lot colder next year. And I think that's what's going on right now. We're in a transition. We're going from a warmer time to a colder time, and it's gonna happen. I'm telling you, it's gonna get cold again. It has to. Eric goes, just order another tool for review. Yeah, Eric, you got to update me on your business there. You don't have to tell me here in the live stream, but I'm really curious to see what's going on. I'd almost like to maybe talk to you about that. I have an idea, but I don't want to make it public yet. We'll shelve that for another time. Hey Matt, I have at least another before I'm supposed to go back to work at the golf course where I've been working at. I have at least a year, maybe you meant to say. I'm not sure on that one. Man, I tell you, I could use some work like that. It helped me burn off some calories for sure. What's more deadly, SARS or coronavirus? That's an interesting question. I have been keeping up on this a little bit. The latest I heard, and this was actually on a podcast from Jim Baker, if you guys remember that name. He had a expert come on that was an expert in the China healthcare system, and they're now saying up to 50,000 people have actually died from the corona or COVID-19 virus. So I would have to say now that the coronavirus or the COVID-19 virus is getting up there. If I remember correctly, more people than that died with the SARS, though. But we don't know what's going to happen. They're actively working on vaccines all across the world. They say they have one they're testing now in mice or lab rats, which doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work. Just because something works on animals doesn't mean it's going to work on people. Although, if the majority of the specialists are correct and this originated with animals and jumped to people, then that does bear well for this vaccine working. If it does work in animals, then it's a good possibility that it'll actually work in people as well. Another week. Okay. I want to make sure I had that right, Mark. I wasn't sure. I figured so there was a missing piece of information there somewhere. Eric goes, I'm still fighting the township. I have a meeting this week to discuss my waste management strategy. Ooh. Yeah, down here there isn't. A fun fact, in my city, we have had recycling now for about 10 years. I know we were really late to the game. There's other parts of my area that don't recycle at all. And they had to renegotiate their contracts with waste management. And apparently they couldn't come to terms, not for the recycling, because they have recycling trucks, then they have trash trucs. So they couldn't come to terms with the recycling trucks, but they did with the trash trucks. So for now, they're hiring a private out-of-town company to do the recycling. So for now, at least we still have recycling. But if they can't come to terms with the waste management company that's been handling our recycling, which I think is just a subsidiary of Waste Management that does the garbage, then we may not be recycling anything in the near future. And that's going to be really sad, because that means I'll have to throw all my glass bottles, my plastic jugs, all that'll have to go into the garbage and into the landfill. Unfortunately, our great state of Virginia is a little backwards when it comes to things like recycling. More specifically, the waste oil, gas, fluids, and disposal. Yeah, that's true, because small engine repair, you got all that. I mean, you got the gas from the lawnmowers, you got The two-stroke fuel, which is the gas and oil mixture that a lot of weed whackers, leaf blowers, chainsaws use too. So yeah, I can understand them wanting to be really careful about that because that can cause a big mess. True story, where I used to live in upstate New York, there was a little town called Baldwin, New York, and they had the Baldwin Mall, which was one of those regional one-story malls that was quaint, but it started dying out. Well, there was a dry cleaners that was in front of the mall, not even part of the mall. It was actually in front of the mall, kind of like what you would see in our malls. And apparently their sewer system started to leak. Well, you guys know how highly toxic dry cleaning chemicals are. And that seeped into the water table. And do you know they actually had to close down the mall and tear it down because of that? And that property stayed vacant for almost 20 years. That's 20 years before they actually were able to build. And they finally did build a strip mall back there. But it's amazing how much of a environmental disaster things like that can be. And I am not what I would call an environmentalist. I am a conservative who cares about the environment, mainly because I don't want to die of cancer before I'm 60 years old. And I hate to say it, folks, when you look at things like 5G, I've talked a lot about this. That's another thing. 5G is an incredibly dangerous network because it uses a microwave, a form of microwave, but it's a denser, thicker wave, and that's what allows it to have the extra speed and the reliability. But when that's going through the air, it's going through you, and when it goes through you, it's going to go through you more slowly than the waves they use for 3 and 4G, which I don't know the names of those. Please don't ask me, I just don't know. But to make a long story short, 5G, they're very afraid is going to cause cancer because of that wave. I mean, it's nowhere near as dangerous as like if you were standing in front of a microwave all day long, but it does bear watching because it is a much denser wave. Eric's Variety Channel, there are 4 buildings in less than a mile radius of that building that have dirty soil. Well, I guess at this point, then it really wouldn't matter too much, but they're probably trying to negate any more environmental damage at this point. I have both the cats, and they are waiting at the door to go out. Well, you guys shouldn't have snuck in here. Huh? You have egg on your face, Baxty? I don't think I have enough. Let me see. I don't know if you guys will be able to see him there. You can kind of make Baxter out there. Hey, Baxt. And Milo's in front of him near the door. But yeah, they're regretting their decision to stay in here. That's for sure. All right, so Marcos, I'm currently 57. I also want to live to be in my 60s and beyond. Well, I hope you do too. And that was just an arbitrary age that I pulled out of my head. I mean, I wasn't really singling anybody out there, but and there really isn't a lot we can do about it at this point, not when it comes to 5G because it's already rolling out. I just hope once they finished all their tests, if they do find that there's a danger there, that they shut those networks down because it is really, really important. All right, everybody, believe it or not, that's going to be it for the live stream tonight. I just wanted to do a quick live stream. You guys expect it, and I try to deliver as much as I can. Hope everybody's having a great Friday evening. Don't eat too much. Make sure you get your exercise in. Please continue to like and subscribe. And as always, have a blessed day, everybody.